Thank you, Minister Carrier. Glory, if you are comfortable sitting, you can sit and speak. Oh, I'm sorry, a change of plan. President Chartrand is going to speak first.
Thank you very much for that, Andrew, for the prayer. And Glory, it's nice to see you here, Sherry. For those media that are here, personally, I want to thank you on behalf of my government, my people, on behalf of the family. Sending out the message to so many that Ray has touched will take more than the Federation and our government to send out in our communication system. But having the media here hopefully will spread its noise of really what this means in a sense to so many. Sherry was just telling me upstairs when the post lady came over to deliver mail or drop off the mail, just finding out that Ray had passed, she started crying. So there'll be many out there that'll shed the tears. I hope it's not me right now. But Ray was a friend and clearly a legend. And we were talking upstairs that when he was 16, acting like Elvis, playing like Elvis, shaking his leg like Elvis, I wasn't even born yet. But he, in his heart, always knew he was going to be a musician. He loved music. And his passion never ended, no matter what happened, no matter how trying it was. I remember when Ray started, he didn't start off in playing in massive auditoriums or TVs nationally in this country. He started off in little bars and little communities, little halls. And of course, he built it as the icon from there. And Ray and I go way back. And we've been together as friends and colleagues. When I bought the Métis Hour Times 2 show, which is listened by tens of thousands every Saturday. And around the world, we get calls from Mexico, Scotland, Europe, to our show, or asking inquisitive questions about our music. And Ray was so proud that the show grew to be so powerful and so strong. But the ambition he had, because of his passion for music, when we talked about creating the show, was to give other young people an opportunity to maybe make music and then get heard and hopefully get found. And at the same time, can produce themselves a career in a particular field in music. So Ray's passion for music was so powerful, but he had a chance to tell a story. He had a chance to impact a people. You know, mighty proud of Métis. You know, that's the 1970s. That song was sang by him, written by him. Think about history in this room. Go back. Not many people were proud to be Métis then. They were hiding their identity, and the nation was not yet united as it is today. So Ray, who he was, wanted to express his feelings and his pride of being who he truly was, a proud Métis man, and one that one day had a dream to see what we have today. And he always had a passion for making people happy, smiling and joking. You know, for a lot of you that, I'll tell you quite a story. Myself, Oliver, and Don went to visit him at Deer Lodge. And so we took the fiddle, Oliver played the fiddle, and he was just excited. He wanted to sit in his chair and get off the bed. And of course, he was having difficulties already. And Oliver played a fiddle tune for him, and this brought the spirit up for Ray. So Oliver looks at him and says, Ray, he says, I heard you had Parkinson's, and Parkinson's is really hurting you medically. He said, but I don't even see you shaking or nothing, so what type of Parkinson's is it? And Ray looks at him and I'm shaking, you know. So, but Parkinson did take Ray's life. Took my sister's life and took others. And, you know, truly at the end of the day, even in his deathbed, he had his humor. And truly, I think he wanted to send a message to everybody that he lived a good life. He had lived a happy life with Laurie and the family. He's raised some terrific musicians. I guess being born under Ray, you have to be a musician. You're forced to. Sherry was just giving me all this stuff about music upstairs, about 440, 444, whatever those numbers were. What do you call that stuff again?
Healing frequencies.
Healing frequencies. I said it's just like right over my head. So I just listen to the sound. It sounds good. It looks good to me, and I'm happy. But again, Ray knew all this magic of how you get the message out and how you touch people. And that's what's so essential, I think, is that think of the thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that Ray has touched throughout his lifespan. And the impact he's had made. So a gospel tune, a friend of mine back home, always remembers that song about what's the title of that song? Bird? You'll Know That It's Me. You'll Know That It's Me. I just want to make sure I say the name right. You'll Know That's Me. It's about a bird coming after you pass, because our family elders teach us that after you pass, you still come back, you still check on your family, you still check on everything that's happening. And sometimes you got to bring a message that you're okay. And so that's why he created the song. And so many people have turned to that song to help them in the time of loss, the time of pain, the time of healing, and the time of compassion. And that song, he has many other gospel tunes, but that song really hit a lot of people. And a personal friend of mine, nearly sheds a tear every time he hears that song for his son. So Ray touched so many lives in so many ways, and I am proud to call him my friend. And for what he had done through his career, it was not just about music, even though that was his passion. It was about changing lives and making things better. And that's why he had such great humor. He'd make people laugh. And made the hour times two, and Big Sky Country, I want to thank the city, Winnipeg, the family also wants to express that to the people of Winnipeg, to name that and that he was alive to see it. It's not named after he's gone. And he got a chance to sing one of his songs. So, and of course, Grace said he got that note. And that's music language, but he sounded good anyway to me, like he always does. But, it's seeing that and one more joke, because in our funerals, it's not just about sad. It's also a time, I was talking to Sherry and Gloria, it's a time to rejoice. Our nation is in mourning. There's not a question about it. We lost our legend. We lost our hero. But he's not gone. His music still carries on. His music will be played throughout our family homes and throughout different festivities. Sherry will sing some of the songs and follow in their dad's, although they're great artists upon their own, but they'll sing some of their own dad's songs just to reminisce about the great legend, Ray St. Germain. So when you look at, I think the best way to describe it is that Ray's passion to helping others and supporting others will still live on. It'll still be there. So if you want to listen to Ray or you miss Ray, play a Ray St. Germain song at home, and he'll be there. He'll be around. He'll be watching and be listening. So he was my friend, and a personal friend. And he supported me throughout my political career. I didn't know him. I knew him, but I didn't know of him close enough as I do him now, because we've been together for over 27 years. But prior to that, I knew of his name, I know of his music, and I was in a campaign once, and this guy took him to this guy was going to run against me as president, and so he asked Ray to go with him to listen to the debate, and so he tells me the story, and we laugh about it years later. But anyways, this is back in '97. He's going here. This young guy I was young then, not bald and white now, but at that time, I was still a younger politician and heading to take leadership. And this candidate took him, he said, come with me. He said, come support me. I'm going to debate this guy. So after the speeches and the debate, and he looked at his friend, he said, good luck. And I think he kind of switched sides after that presentation. So after we became very, very good friends. But and then I took him another story. I want to share this story so others could hear it. I got him to run for a riding in the central part of our city here. I said, Ray, it's time to get into politics. You can do more than just music. Become a politician. You could change policy. You could change the life of so many more in a different way. So I convinced him. He said, okay. But Ray always looked dashing. His hair is always combed. It's beautiful. And of course, he dyed his hair because he was aging. And he always had this nice dark brown hair and just wavy. So for some reason, he quit dyeing it, and it's all white. And then, so now he's going campaigning, knocking on doors. He opens the door. Who are you? They'd say to him. Nobody recognized him after. So he lo and behold, he lost his election. So, but it just shows you that as we talk as Métis people in our culture, not only do we reminisce of the person's life and the good things and the sad things and the happy things, but I as a friend, I'm very happy that the good Lord took him. For those of you only Glory in the family know, and Naomi and others who are very closely connected, we're with him throughout his last days. And Glory and Sherry were there right to the end moment when he took his last breath. And you have to take a sense of relief now, because he's not suffering no more. He's going to go home. And I told Sherry today, upstairs, I said, Sherry, you got to let him go after, because he's got to go home. If you have too much resistance and pain, based on what our elders have taught us, he will not leave. He'll stay until his time is to leave for good. And still come, but not to be lingering between two worlds. So I want to express again our personal gratitude from my government to all the things that Ray done in our careers, and meaning the lives he's changed, the music he sang, the stories he meant to say, stories he wanted to say through his music, and the way he wanted to introduce the world in his eyes. And we are very fortunate to have had Ray St. Germain in our lives as the Métis of the Red River. You would have made Lou Riel very proud if Lou Riel was walking around at that time. And so, again, Glory, thank you for allowing your husband to be part of our family here, and living it, breathing it, and singing it, and standing for it. And I know Sherry then will continue to make their dad very proud. All of them are musicians, by the way, all of them, including the grandchildren and the rest of them. So the nieces and that, they're all musicians. But again, it's such a great honor. My cabinet it'll be saddened for a while, and my message to my people is that also rejoice. Also accept the pride of a great man who did so much in the time he was given in this planet, in this world. And now we'll let him go home and come visit once in a while, and keep on setting the news of a great legend that will live on forever in our world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Chartrand. Glory, are you more comfortable sitting, or do you want to stand? Yeah, okay, all right. So Glory St. Germain will speak on behalf of the family.
Thank you. So, Ray St. Germain came into my life 50 years ago, yesterday. And his music impacted me profoundly. And obviously I fell in love with his voice, and ultimately fell in love with him. And 5 years later, we just look at everything that we've created 50 years later. And I'm really honored. And David Chartrand was such a dear friend to Ray. He loved you so much. And when Ray discovered, that he was Métis, when he grew up, it was hidden. His parents didn't tell him, because it was hard for Métis people to express themselves and who they were in their music. And Ray wanted to make a difference, and together with David Chartrand, he gave him an opportunity to share his music with the world, and ultimately with his children. And they now are continuing his musical legacy. And Ray sang to me every day, and we danced every day, and music was his life. And I am so honored that, that his music will continue to inspire people to sing, to praise their heritage, and to move forward with love and compassion, and to spread that message to others. And I'm really grateful and honored to be here. And thank you, David, for everything.
Ray's daughter Sherry has a few words for us.
Well, one of my best friends brought this to the hospital, and was a crystal, and held it to my dad held it while he was passing, so we could have his energy for forever. So he is here. And I'm a very spiritual person, and so is my dad. And I called my good friend Curtis Newton last night to come over to sit in the sunroom, because that was my dad's favorite place to sit and tell stories. And I held his record and I asked for a sign. He said, just let me know you're okay. And because he was a jokester and a prankster, as you guys all know, he loved bringing joy to people. And Newton and I were just sitting there reminiscing, telling stories, and all of a sudden, I had this overwhelming feeling of unconditional love and warmth, and Dad came in from the left, and he said, it's okay, honey, I'm okay. I love you, I'm okay. So he gave us that peace, and then we heard the sunroom door shut, like he was going in to see my mom next, but there was nobody there. And then the motion detector came on outside the light, and we just thought, there you go again, playing jokes. So he always loved to bring joy to people. He's okay. And I know he loved you all, and he was such a proud Métis, and it was his life. He was so proud, and he loved everyone here at the Métis Federation. He loved all those people, and he lived to sing with his gifts, and just thank you so much. It's been an overwhelming support and love. We woke up to flowers on the bench outside of our house, and I just know that he's here with us, and if you do want to connect with him, just ask, and he'll come and say hi. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, David. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. It's obviously a challenging time for everybody, but we will open the floor to questions if you have any.
Lori, the world knows him obviously as a very talented musician, charismatic television and radio host. You knew him very personally. Is there something that you'd like the world to remember about him?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I would say about Ray to remember is that to dream big. You know, he grew up in St. Vital, you know, broker than a church mouse. And he had a vision of music, and he had an opportunity to, you know, to rise up to that, to become, you know, Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame, which is one of his desires. And he wanted to tour overseas and up north to the Métis communities, and he just did it, you know. And sometimes we're afraid to really go after our dreams. We dream it, we want it, but we don't do it. And the one thing, you know, I remember when we went overseas, went to Germany and Israel and Cyprus and France, and he performed everywhere, and I was always by his side, you know. I produced the shows for him, and I remember when he met with David and said, you know, we're going to do the Métis Hour, and Naomi came on board as his co-host, and she's now taken over the legacy. And when we did the family shows, he would say, well, let's just bring all the kids in. And so it was just a legacy. And I think the one thing that I saw in him every day was creativity. He would sit in the sunroom, as Sherry said, and he would, you know, write the shows, who am I going to have? But he also wanted to empower other Métis musicians, which he brought onto the Métis Hour. And he did that too on his television series. He had multiple people would just call him and say, oh, do you think I could? And he'd go, of course you can, you know. He would welcome that. He was a very humble man, not only in public, but also in our life together. It was very beautiful, and the man that you all know and love, that's the man that I know and love too. So I hope that answered your question. Yeah.
And I probably should have said in advance, say who you are and where you're from. So that was Sav Jones from APTN. Okay, who's next?
Oh my God.
It's a novel.
How much time do you have? It's funny because one of the best, he's the only one that got it, because I left home to go on the road when I was 15 years old, just like him, with my brothers. And so I had to grow up pretty quick as well. And he said, you know, kid, he had the best advice all the time. He said, you're going to run into a lot of crazy stuff on the road. And he said, no matter what happens, if you think it's bad, he said, just remember, it's going to be one hell of a story one day around the campfire. And anytime something crazy happens, like, okay, it's going to be a great story. It's just give it a couple months. It's going to be a great story. And he's right. Because with time, pain heals. Time, everything, you know, even if you have a fight with your friend or a fallout with your family, at some point, something happens and you get that reset button and it becomes just this hilarious story that you're like, remember when we were so petty and stupid about fighting about that? And it doesn't matter. Love is really, you know, the thing that connects us all. I believe we're all connected. I don't believe that, you know, there should be walls between cultures. There should be bridges. And he never judged anyone. He took everyone as they were. He was an unconditionally loving person, and I just had the best mentor because he never missed. He never missed. I never saw him miss a note or miss a show. He was always on time. He always was like 5 hours early for the airport. It was so annoying. Sometimes we would go and it wouldn't even be open. He was terrified of just being late. He was such a professional. And yeah, it just, you know, I got to hang out and drink and smoke when we both drank and smoked in the sunroom together and listen to his stories. And he just had so many, and he was such a great storyteller, you know. And he just, you know, he went on the road with my sisters and brother, Kathy and Crystal and Raymond. He has way more stories with them, actually. And yeah, he just was always the life of the party, and it was always a great time. And when he spoke, people listened. So.
You got to sing with all 5 kids.
What's that, Mom?
You got to sing with all 5 kids on the show, too.
Oh, yeah, I got to sing with them, too. And yeah, it was his life. You know, growing up, it was just music all the time. I really had nothing else to do. None of us did. We didn't have a choice. But we would sing, you know, and especially when our family would all sing together, when we'd all sing in harmony, it was the most loving feeling I've ever had. And when you sing together, you know, you kind of rejoice. And he always instilled that in us too. Music brings us together, and family first always. So thank you so much. I'm trying to hold it together. So I have these shades they brought me. Thank you. Thank you.
Next question?
I'm just wondering with Ray, you know, coming out during a time, like you were saying, when the Métis weren't as much accepted now, but going throughout the years working with other Indigenous and Métis artists, how much of an impact did he have on, you know, the industry as a whole for Métis and Indigenous artists? Do you really think we'd even be close to where we are today if it wasn't for
Who are you directing your question to?
any other really?
There's not a doubt in my mind that Ray was sort of the pioneer of leading not only Métis but Indigenous artists in general. That, as pointed out by Glory, you dream big, you could do it, but never give up. One of the things I think I will always remember Ray is pride. And like Glory said, you hear the stories, I heard the stories. He grew up the same way many of us, poor, and his family was poor, but he had dreams, and he never gave up. And I think he was always open. And Glory still teaches piano, and I don't know if he teach anymore lately, but Glory had piano classes. Ray would teach vocals, and so kids can go down there and people can learn, you know, the way that you can really perform. But not only that, capturing the essence of what Sherry said, understanding the hardship of a musician on the road. That is not an easy life. And so Ray used to talk lots of those stories to teach people, to tell people, but you look at how many shows he had on national TV, you know, Big Sky Country and Ray St. Germain show, and so forth, so forth. So I think a lot of people looked towards him and saw that, wow, maybe I can do it too. And I think that's where, as I said, he was definitely, without question, one of the great pioneers for Indigenous artists, and for us, for the Métis, for sure. That's why he's one of our legends.
Glory, did you want to add anything there? No? Okay. Fair enough. Next question? Anyone? No? Okay.
Let me say this, if I can, to all the media. I personally would tell you what Ray would say right now, that he made him proud, that all of you came out, all of you having your own way of what story you're going to tell when you leave here. But if there's anything you can take, you take that this was a proud man, and a man that so much believed in the Métis, our people, our struggles, our future. When Ray and I would sit here in the office at times and talk, and we started from a little tiny office in McGregor. Then we started a little tiny radio show on Rivers, a little basement thing that he and I started, the Métis Hour Show ×2 for a year and a half. Then we moved to NCI for the last 24 years or 23 years. And Sherry's right. I could count in my one hand the amount of times that Ray did not make the show, including me, in my one hand. No matter where I was in the world, I would report on Saturday because Ray and I believe that this show can help. And I'll tell you something else that was so important to him. There are so many artists that came to us and said, I want you to play this on Métis Hour, because there's potentially 50,000 listeners, to play this tape I have or this CD I've made. Ray would listen to it and say no. And I'll tell you why. It's not that he was trying to hurt the artist. He said, I'd hurt you more by putting you on there knowing full well you're not at your full potential. Then you will never have that chance, maybe again. So your name would be tarnished or branded. So he wanted perfection. He wanted that young artist to make sure that they're at their best. So when somebody hears them, then they're going to say, wow, I want that band. I want that musician. But if you put something not fully to its full potential, then he felt he was going to hurt that artist. And people don't think it that way, but that was his wisdom in making sure. So, because we had a lot of people bring their music to us. So Ray truly was somebody that wanted to build, because he loved music, he wanted to build a passion of other Métis artists to take the role. And he was not afraid to say his opinion. If they weren't going to perform at their best, then I'm guaranteed he was going to share that with you. Except for his kids, he always protected them no matter what. Sherry was always protected, I'll tell you that. So anyways, but again, Ray was a hell of a great father, a great husband, and for us, a great friend for me and a great friend for my government and for my nation, a Haikon, a legend forever.
Yeah, it was really incredible. Actually, I want to give a little shout out to Kelly Ryback, who, without his instigating this, it wouldn't have happened. And he really pushed hard to make it happen so that Ray could be there. And, being Ray's assistant, we did a dry run of everything. When you're behind an artist, you know what it takes to support them, just as President David Chartrand has an incredible team here to support him in his mission with the Métis Federation. That was my role with Ray, and we went for rehearsal for a short drive. Could he sustain that? And, the hair has to be done, and the water and everything, so that I knew when he arrived, I was taking every breath with him when he was singing. I could just feel him. I knew, okay, move the thing so his feet could get on the ground from the wheelchair. And I just felt his energy. And when he hit the money note, I hit the tear bucket. It was just, it meant everything. And that our family could be there, and that our children were there and singing. And it meant a lot. And it was a surprise. I was with Ray, obviously with the wheelchair, and he watched the kids all singing. And then he looked at me and he said, I want to sing. And I said, what? He said, I want to sing. And I went, uh-oh. And so I wheeled him over, and our son David was playing his guitar, and I said, well, your dad wants to sing. And he said, okay. And that Pavarotti High E on the end of It's Now or Never, it's not an easy note to hit. And but he did full voice, and he was honoring, and it was his last hurrah to say, I love you, I love everyone, and thank you for sharing the music. And music feeds the soul, and it's really important to share that. And I'm greatly honored, and Big Sky Country Way meant everything to him. He grew up on St. Michael's Road, and his parents are buried at St. Michael's Road. At the end, there's the St. Vital Cemetery, and we went there many, many times, and he'd tell me the same story, and I go, I've heard this for 50 years, but I would listen. And yeah, he was always a jokester. He'd like to tell those stories. So thank you.
Yeah.
If you got him to sing here, the money note, he'd be saying to everybody.
Yeah.
Because then you know that note's coming, and he'd shatter glasses sometimes, so you know that he had the money note.
Yeah, and those of us who were privileged to be there for that event and to hear him sing, I think that's going to last with all of us. So if there's no further questions, I think we could all benefit from the comfort of a closing prayer as we leave. I will tell you there are refreshments outside as well, so please help yourself. But Minister Carrier, could you please?